Hey guys, I am here filming my November TBR. And I'm actually really excited because last month I tried something new where I actually created essentially a theme for the month where I wanted to read books in series that I had started. And it actually felt really interesting. Of the books that I picked, half of them kind of were like middle books of this series, and the other half ended up being books that I needed to reread to determine do if I like the series still and want to continue, or B, just kind of remind myself like what happened before I tried to read the second book. And I really, really like that. So I am going to continue on with that. And half the books for this month that I picked out do fall into that um, books where I'm continuing on with a series that I've already started because I do want to continue doing that. I don't want books to sit on my shelf and then I forget about them and then like I don't remember what happened and I have to reread it just to know if I want to continue the series. But the other half of the books are going to fit in the theme for this month, which is books that are on my physical TBR shelves that I'm very hesitant about reading. And we'll get into that in a little bit because I'm going to start with the books that are in series that I have already started with. And the very first one is called The Queen is Dead by Kate Locke. This is the second book in the Immortal Empire series. I'm actually going to be starting this in October. I'm filming this a little bit early, but I know that I'll be starting it. But this will be the very first book that I finish. The Immortal Empire series follows Xandra. That's our main character, but she is in this world that is present day but alternate kind of universe. It essentially asks the ultimate what if question of what if Queen Victoria never died because she's a vampire? And that's where this premise kind of comes about. The English noble class is vampires, the Scottish are werewolves, and what would this world be like? And there's not a ton that I can give you other than that because would be super spoilery for the end of the first book, but this continues on with the story following Xandra and the aftermath of the choices that she made in the first book. I'm very, very excited to read this. I thought the first one was very interesting and well written, so I am excited to continue this series. The next book is called Perfect Lies. It is the sequel to Mind Games, and it's by Kiersten White. I'm actually in the middle of Mind Games, and I think it is so interesting. It follows two characters who are sisters, Fia and Annie. And Annie is blind, but she can see visions of the future, while Fia has perfect instincts. And it's very interesting how it is written, and because essentially Annie ended up going to a school and Fia followed her, and now they're stuck at this school that is exploiting them, and so they're trying to figure out how to get out. And so this will be the conclusion of that storyline. It's really short, it's only 230 pages, but I am so invested in these characters and this storyline, so I'm again very excited about that. And then after that I have Shadow Scale by Rachel Hartman. It is the second book in the Seraphina series. In the first book, we met Seraphina, who is half dragon, and she is also a court musician at a time when they're supposed to be celebrating the treaty between humans and dragons, but they're finding that this peace treaty is actually fraying at the edges. And so this second book is a it's the second book of a duology. So it's concluding out this storyline. There is going to be a war, and of course, Seraphina being in the middle, half human, half dragon, is going to be pulled by both sides. I am very, very excited to read this. When I finished Seraphina, I actually strongly considered just picking this up immediately, even though it wasn't on my October TBR. But I did go ahead and wait, and I will be reading this in the month of November. After that, I do have Across the Great Barrier by Patricia C. Wrede. It is the second book in the Frontier Magic series. In the first book, we kind of got to know our main character of F. F lives in a world that is essentially alternate Wild Wild West. It's Wild Wild West with magic. And F is the 13th child, so everybody around her has always told her, you're going to just bring death and destruction and doom and misery everywhere you go, because 13 is such an unlucky number. And it doesn't help that her twin brother is the seventh son of a seventh son, and everybody expects amazing, great things from him. So she's been trying to figure out her place in the world. And the second book is really a continuation of that idea of her. What does she bring to the table, and can she be a force for good when everybody around her is telling her that she is likely going to be a force for evil? And I am very excited about this. This is a middle grade series, and I think this is probably the best middle grade series I've read in quite a while. So I am excited to go ahead and continue on with book 2. After that, I do have Half Off Ragnarok by Seanan McGuire, the third book in the Encrypted series. The Encrypted series follows a family of cryptozoologists, aka the buffer between humans and monsters, and they do a lot of things. They study these monsters, they help the monsters, they enforce societal rules among these monsters, and if these monsters don't follow the rules of society, they go and kill these monsters. And so the first 2 books of this series followed Verity Price, and it was good, and I really enjoyed it. And now we're going to be switching over narrators to her brother Alex. And honestly, the back does not have a whole lot of description about what this book is going to be about. It basically just says that Alex is really into studying the cryptids and doing research, and he thought that he was going to be safe because he didn't choose to study city cryptids. He's actually going more rural cryptids. And then, of course, there's obviously going to be something that happens around that, but what, I'm not sure. But I am very excited. I had actually read the first 2 books of this series 5 years ago but I've never read this book. And so this is the point where I stopped. And so I'm very excited to see what happens with this series and how it is handled. The narrator change is handled. And then after that, I do have a book called The Traitor in the Tunnel by Y.S. Lee. This is a series that follows our main character of Mary Quinn in Victorian London, and she is a spy. The first 2 books follow her very first 2 jobs as a spy, and this spy agency is all women, and it operates under this idea that everybody around women will underestimate them. They think that women are stupid or weak or just don't have the fortitude to really do anything of consequence, which makes women the perfect spies. And I love this series. I love so much about it. It is, I love the main character of Mary Quinn, and as she's dealing with am I a good spy? What makes a good spy? What is my place in this world? And how does being a spy affect my place in this world? And how do I deal with my heritage? And how do I deal with this guy that I really like? And I don't know. I am loving this series, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this 3rd book. And so those are all the books that I picked out because I'm in the middle of the series and I do want to continue with the series. And so next up are the books where they do fit that theme of all the books on my shelf that I am hesitant. Not all the books on my shelf that I'm hesitant. A select number of books from my shelf that I am very hesitant about for various reasons. And we will start with Keeping It Real by Justina Robson. This is the first book in the Quantum Gravity series, where apparently a quantum bomb went off and tore the fabric between the different dimensions. And so now we're living with things like elves and demons and what else? Elementals and things like that. And we are following our main character of Lila Black. She is a mercenary. She is also a cyborg, and she has been assigned to bodyguard an elven rock star. And that's all that is said on the back, so that's all that I know. When I looked at this book, and I picked it up, I looked at it and I said, wow, this is probably going to be a train wreck. And I just don't know if it's going to be a good train wreck where I enjoy the ride for the entire time, or if it's going to be a bad train wreck and I hate every moment of it. And that's kind of why I haven't picked it up, because I don't know what kind of train wreck it's going to be, guys. But there we go. We'll find out together. And then after that, I have The Strangely Beautiful Tale of Miss Percy Parker by Leanna Renee Hieber. It is the first book in the Strangely Beautiful series. And this is a book that follows our main character of Percy Parker. We are told that she has an uncanny gift and she goes to a special school. We meet her as she has joined a special school for this particular gift. We don't know what it is. We're not told. This is Victorian London, if I haven't said that before. The reason that I've been hesitant about this is because I did actually read a couple pages of this, and the writing is very, very flowery. And I really struggle with flowery writing. I struggle to comprehend what the author is trying to say. And so I don't like it. I much prefer things that are much more straightforward. And so this one, I don't even know if I'm going to like the story because the description on the back is so minimal, and then add in like this flowery writing, and I really just don't know. But I figure that I'll give this 50 pages at least to see if I can get used to the writing style enough that I understand what's going on. And then from there decide, do I understand what's going on? And if I understand it, do I like it? And then from there decide if I'm going to continue or not. After that, I have 3 Days to Dead by Kelly Medding. It is the first book in this series. Sorry guys, I forgot to Dreg City series. First book in the Dreg City series, and it follows our main character of Evangeline Stone, Evie, and she wakes up in the morgue. She was dead. She and her two of her mercenary compatriots were killed, and she has been branded a traitor, and she really does not know why. And she has been given 3 days to figure it out before she is dead for good. This sounds so interesting to me. However, it was written in 2009, which urban fantasies had just an explosion around this time. And when it happened, like other genres that have had explosions, some of the stuff is really just quite amazing, and some of it is absolutely terrible, and there's a lot of stuff that's just okay. And I don't want this to be just okay. I want it to be amazing, and I'm going to be disappointed. I know that I will be disappointed if it's not amazing. And so that's why I've been so hesitant about picking this one up, but I am very excited to try it out. And then after that, I have Assassin's Gambit by Raby, not really sure. It is the first book in the Hearts and Thrones series. This is a romance. I actually like romances, and I just don't read them a ton. But this follows our main character, which I have no idea how to pronounce her name, but she is an assassin, and she has been tasked with seducing the emperor and then killing him to start a war for the succession. And then of course she falls in love with him. She has to decide whether she's going to go ahead and kill the person that she loves, or not kill him and then have her reputation be in absolute tatters. And so I don't mind knowing the plot points and the beats for a romance novel. I'm kind of expecting that I'm going to. I just don't always want to know what's going to happen in any other storylines, and I feel like I already knew what this book is going to be. And so it's been really hard to want to read something where you're like, I already know what it's going to be, So, but I will go ahead and give it a chance and see if I get sucked in anyway. After that, I do have Fuzzy Nation by John Scalzi. This is actually more of a fan fiction work that he did based off of Little Fuzzy by, I don't remember what Little Fuzzy was by, but I'll link it down below. But it's essentially this guy, Jack Holloway, is on a planet employed by a corporation. He is on this planet to determine if this planet has anything of value that the corporation can exploit. He finds some stuff, and then he cuts a deal with the corporation that they'll go halvesies on it. But all of those rights are contingent upon there not being any sentient species on this planet. And after he cuts this deal, he realizes, oh, there actually might be a sentient species on this planet, and he has to figure out what to do. Now, the reason that I'm hesitant about this is because that particular description doesn't really sound all that interesting to me. It's not, I mean, it's interesting enough that I'm still going to give it a shot, but it's not gripping. And so, when that happens, I really rely upon liking the author. But I've tried John Scalzi, and one book that I read I really loved, which was Locke, and one I really didn't. It was a satire. It turns out I don't like satires, by the name of Red Shirts. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm not really gung-ho on the plot. I don't always love John Scalzi's stuff. So I don't know, we'll see. And then lastly, in this category, we have the book called Night Terrors by Tim Waggoner. It is the first book in the Shadow Watch series. And the whole premise of this series is that when you dream, you go to a specific place. And if you dream long enough or hard enough, your dreams and your nightmares become reality. And the Shadow Watch are the people that are essentially dealing with these things these dreams that have become real. That is all we know. Now, the reason that I'm hesitant about this is because based off of this cover, which I hate, by the way, it looks like it might be more horror. And it's not that I don't like horror, but I am pretty picky about it. And so I hate the cover. I don't know if it's going to be a genre. It seems like it might be this genre that I don't always love. And so I think that the premise is very, very interesting. I just don't, again, I'm hesitant about it. And then after that, I am going to go ahead and continue on with Claymore, the manga series Claymore by Norihiro Yagi. I am on volumes 8 and 9. It follows some these women that are monster hunters that became part monsters so that they could actually fight them, have the strength and speed to fight them. I'm enjoying it so far. So I feel like I hit a turning point with the last 2 volumes where I finally kind of could see what was going on. I thought the story got a bit more interesting. So again, I'll see how it goes. I also, in my comics and manga category, I do want to go ahead and read Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider Volume 1 called Spider-Geddon. It is by Seanan McGuire. I don't know a ton about Spider-Gwen. It's essentially an alternate Earth 65, where instead of Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, we have Gwen Stacy becoming Ghost Spider. And I don't know a ton about this particular series, the storyline of this particular arc, but I love Seanan McGuire. She always gives me a good story, so I'm going to go in blind and just trust her that she wrote something that I really enjoy. And then lastly, I do want to go ahead and restart a comic series that I started reading multiple years ago, and that is The Wicked and the Divine. I picked it up, and I really it was pretty early on when I was reading comics, and so I didn't know the right way for me to read them to be able to retain what was going on. And I feel like since then I have learned, and so I can retain much more of what's going on, and I would like to go back and reread some of the series that I ended up abandoning, essentially, because I got back into my novels. And so I'm going to start with The Wicked and the Divine by Kieron Gillen. I have no idea how to pronounce that guy's name. But it follows, it is a very interesting series that has the premise that every 90 years, 12 gods are incarnated as humans. And it's across pantheons. So it's not like just Roman or Greek or just Norse or anything. It's like across any pantheons. If there's ever been that god, they could be incarnated as humans. And they only have 2 years to live. They are the absolute pop stars. And then, of course, because of this phenomena, pop stars are treated as gods. But now we are going to follow this set of gods that were incarnated. And of course, mischief happens almost immediately. So There you go. I am going to pick up volumes 1 and 2 this month and see if I can get back into it, but I am so excited. I really did like it, even though I didn't follow the storyline as well as I could have. I did enjoy it. I do want to pick it back up. We'll see how it goes. And that is it. Almost more than 20 minutes later, there is my TBR for November. I know it's a lot of books. I tend to read a lot of books. I do understand that I will probably DNF books this month more than I usually do. So there you go. But those are the ones that you are most likely to see as I am reading. There you go. Go ahead and let me know. I'm very interested in what are you guys thinking that you're going to read in November, especially with how busy everybody is. Let me know down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.